of these sessions, and maybe in the next batch of TOPG, I think he might say, Sachin, Amit, you don't have to come.
That's right.
I've got
That's right.
AI which will teach which will teach pull out and cancellation and everything.
Sir, you have given good idea.
I hope you don't implement it, because I don't know what to do with my evenings if I don't have a TOPG or a Zoom in TISA. I'll be feeling very bad. Okay, so I think now we can start. Dr. Amit, please. I've already told everybody that it's all about motor skills which they have to master. Just saying that I accept my stammering is not enough. After saying that, you have to say something.
So let's chat about this for a minute. I think I want to hear from people in the room. आपको क्या लगता है कि I mean, certainly any kind of speech motor work, जैसे कि bouncing हो या pull out हो या cancellation हो, ये भी है. I mean, all this can be done to make speech forward moving, लेकिन it's all in the optional category. I mean, actually, it is. The important thing is to accept yourself as you are and sort of move on with your life. Lekin, how do you think these things help in the process? I think let's talk about what you're getting out of the speech motor work. What are you getting out of cancellation? What are you getting out of pullouts? And then we'll like broaden it up to, you know, what is the place of speech motor work in the recovery process? So क्या लगता है आपको? What are you gaining out of this?
I think we can start naming people. Sanjay, what do you think? आप समझ रहे हैं सवाल ना?
हाँ सर, सर मुझे लगता है कि जैसे सर हम मतलब जैसे मैं अपना बोलूं तो मैं अमूमन ऐसे ब्लॉक में नहीं जाता, लेकिन है ना, जब मैं बाहर जाता हूँ या बहुत सारे लोगों के सामने मुझे बोलना पड़ता है, तब मैं काफ़ी हैवी ब्लॉक में चला जाता हूँ. तो मुझे लगता है कि उस टाइम मतलब मैंने ये अगर प्रैक्टिस की हो तो शायद मैं उस समय ना उस ब्लॉक से मैं निकल पाऊँ. तो ये काफ़ी ज़रूरी है कि इसकी प्रैक्टिस की जाए और मतलब काफ़ी कम चैलेंजिंग से स्टार्ट किया जाए, फिर अपना चैलेंज बढ़ाते हुए किया जाए, क्योंकि ऐसी सिचुएशन में हम तभी शायद ब्लॉक से निकल पाएंगे जब हम प्रैक्टिस करते रहें.
तो एक तो डायरेक्ट कनेक्शन आपने बताया संजय की हकलाने में काफी टेंशन होती है, फिजिकल टेंशन होती है. उस टेंशन को कम करने के लिए, ब्लॉक से निकलने के लिए ये टेक्निक्स यूजफुल हो सकती हैं अगर प्रैक्टिस किया जाए, स्किल डेवलपमेंट हो तो one should be able to carry that over. तो ठीक है, that is definitely one big purpose of it. We all know that it is to make speech a little bit less physically tense, less physically stressful, more forward moving. So that's one purpose. और कुछ?
Dr. Arjun Raju, what do you think?
Sir, also I think it gives us a sort of freedom that even if I get into a block, I know how to get out of it. Because I think that is one of my biggest fears is when I get into a block, what then? Because normally I can try to be a bit slow and try to be easy, but there is no guarantee on which word I will encounter a block. So long as that fear remains, I think the ease of communication will be slightly lower. Once we realize that even if we get into a block, it's okay. I know the key to this lock. I can open this lock and I can proceed forward. I think that gives a lot of freedom and eases the pressure and tension as well.
Okay, good. So तो दो reasons हैं, related reasons हैं, लेकिन मैं इनको separate इनको थोड़ा सा separate करके बताऊंगा. एक तो जैसे कि संजय ने बताया, it's to sort of induce more ease into the speech. And secondly, as Arjun said, it is also to reduce the fear. Because if you are afraid of getting into a block, a body will lead with more physical tension. जब हम जानते हैं कि किसी शब्द के ऊपर हकलाएंगे, तो हमारी बॉडी ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर करना शुरू कर देती है कि उसको जोर लगाना होगा, क्योंकि जोर लगाने से ही निकलेंगे. या तो अवॉइड करना होगा या जोर लगाना होगा. These are the two typical responses in the body, to either push it out or to dodge the event. Push and dodge, right? These I call them the reactivity twins. So one is the fear, reduces the fear. You feel more empowered. You feel you have more agency, more control. You're able to sort of get out of it. So you're less afraid. So that even if you do get into a block, as you said, you have a key that can open a lock if one is practiced in using it. Okay. Great. Anybody wants to add anything else? और कुछ कोई बताना चाहता है? Yes.
I just want to add one more perspective, which is learning these motor techniques is very important, because of course they make the job easy of saying what we want to say. All these things are very valid, but there's one more thing which I think is very important. If I am not using cancellation, my listener will never know what I said. So from the listener's perspective, it's important that even though we have accepted our stammering, we are no more ashamed of stammering. In spite of all that, if you are not saying a word in a way which can be understood by the listener, then we are causing some problem in certain quarters in communication. So I think this is very important, because I remember my own childhood when I had no clue about cancellation or pull out anything. I'll just stammer and freeze and skip that word or run away from there. In the same way, we have seen some people in TISA also who say that I have accepted my stammering, I'm totally cool. But still, you have to struggle to understand what they are saying, because they are making no attempt to change the way they are saying certain words or the way they are blocking. Or so I think this also is very important, that we understand that motor skills we have to work on. Sometime also, in the name of serving our audience better.
Okay,
Thank
great. Thank you for sharing that. I think so. The third variable, the third purpose is that it by using a cancellation, by using a pullout, by using all this stuff, because the speech is a little bit more forward moving, you're also being more well understood. So it's partly it creates less interference in communication, right? It's part of developing communication skills so that there is less interference in communication. It's aiding the listener. Okay. Good.
So
और कुछ?
just want to share one
Sure.
related point though. When we use any technique, then we are more mindful about how do we like you know about our body parts, and if there's any kind of pressure that we put in any part of the body, then we can be aware about that, and when we release pressure, then we burn lesser calories, and we can save energy to do some more work.
Yeah. So yeah, less pressure again goes back to the earlier point, Vikas, कि अगर speech थोड़ी सी कम tense होगी, ज़्यादा forward moving होगी, तो we'll also be less exhausted, less stressed at the end of the day. तो ठीक है, तो ज़रा mindfulness ज़्यादा होगी, fear कम होगा, communication में कम interference होगी अगर हम थोड़ा सा अपने आप को करेक्ट कर सकें, मॉडिफाई कर सकें. और basically first point was that also that basically it's going to be easier to move forward if you're using a pullout or a cancellation. One more thing I want to add, I mean, all these things are of course valid. I want to add one more thing to it, कि the particular techniques that we have learned, जो cancellation है, जो pull out है, जो post stutter correction है, mid stutter correction है, इनसे क्या होगा कि it allows us to present our stammering differently. We're still stammering, लेकिन it's very different from using what is called a pre-stutter modification. We haven't talked anything about pre-stutter modifications, and we don't have to, because usually in order to maintain the desensitization component, post-stutter corrections, which is about revisiting the stutter and redoing it, in stutter correction, which is about changing the reward system in the body in the moment, so you're getting reinforcement from relaxation versus getting reinforcement from pushing. ये दोनों टेक्निक्स में क्या होता है कि desensitization component जो है वो maintain रहता है, because we are going to be presenting our stammering a little bit differently. We are also going to stammer, and because in order to practice these techniques in a more skillful way, अगर skill develop करनी है उनको, तो इन techniques को practice करने के लिए हमको voluntary stammering भी करना चाहिए. तो जब आप voluntary stammering इस mix में add कर लेंगे और cancellation add कर लेंगे और pull out add कर लेंगे, तो automatically जो है हमारी body जो है इन टेक्निक्स को इस्तेमाल करने के द्वारा हम डिसेंसिटाइज रहेंगे, हमारी एक्सेप्टेंस रहेगी. The techniques will allow us to accept our stammer, because we are stammering, but we are stammering with more agency, more control. So I think when you're talking about the iceberg analogy के वापस जाएं वहां पे, तो particularly post-stutter and mid-stutter corrections, cancellations and pullouts are getting at what is above the iceberg and getting at what is below the iceberg. Pre-stutter correction, what is called a preparatory set, doesn't typically get there, because I can get into another posture, as I've gotten into right now, where I'm beginning every utterance with an easy onset like this, so that my vocal folds are not adducting in a with hyperclosure, and I'm able to maintain this forward moving speech, and I'm only using easy onsets, which I'm using at the beginning. इसको pre-stutter correction बोलते हैं. इसमें क्या होता है कि stammering होती नहीं है, और अगर stammering नहीं होगी, so the body is going to want to not stammer. It is a way. This is one of the reasons. There's a little technicality here. जो लोग बहुत covert होते हैं, जो अपनी stammering को बहुत छिपाते हैं, तो logically pre-stutter corrections don't work very well for them, because they use it to further hide the stammer, which doesn't work very well in the body, because you want to show your stammer differently and work with it in a different kind of a way. It puts the body in a much more emotionally reactive way when you're using a technique to hide a stammer versus using a technique to change the stammer. Big difference, the game changer. So I wanted to add that also in the mix, that these are the two techniques that retain the discontinuity in the speech without the effort. Low effort, but some discontinuity in the speech, some break in the speech. So basically guidelines यही हैं कि हमको actually for this, before I get to that part a little bit, I want to go to Rajat, who has his eyes closed. So Rajat, आपने एक सवाल पूछा था, TOPG 2.0 में एक सवाल पूछा था about stammering, about टेक्निक्स की प्रैक्टिस का। तो आप यहाँ पे इस फोरम में रिपीट कर सकते हैं, क्या सवाल था आपका?
टेक्निक्स की प्रैक्टिस का ये, सर अभी जो मैंने इसी वीक पूछा था, क्या वो उसी की बात कर रहे हैं सर?
हम्म।
या तो सर वो सवाल ये था कि काफी बार अपन प्रैक्टिस करते हैं डेली, या अपन वीक में एसएचजी मीटिंग में जाते हैं, तो क्या है वो हैबिट हो जाती है या फिर हमको एक हैबिट लग जाती है? तो जब तक हम उसी टाइम इंटरवल पर ऐसी ब्रॉड लेवल पर प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते जहां पर अपने आप को पूरी तरह से ओपन कर दिया, तब तक वैसी ही प्रैक्टिस बॉडी को दोबारा ना दी जाए। तो उसकी ये ना अंदर जब जब तक वो प्रैक्टिस नहीं होती, अ, अपने अंदर माइंड को ये लगता है कि नहीं अब वो प्रैक्टिस करके आनी है, तो फिर वो माइंड वहां पर वापस से भागता है। तो मैं ये सोच रहा था कि यार ऐसे तो इसकी लत या फिर थोड़ा तलब लग जाएगी, बट फिर इसलिए पूछा कि अपन ये जो टाइम इंटरवल को कम कर सकते हैं या ज्यादा कम कर सकते हैं, या फिर इसका क्या ये होना स्वाभाविक है, या फिर इसका क्या सॉल्यूशन है इसका?
तो दो चीजें मैं समझी आपसे, आपके सवाल से। एक तो है कि प्रैक्टिस का क्या रोल है, कितनी प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, कितनी फ्रीक्वेंसी पे करनी चाहिए, कितनी बार करनी चाहिए। और दूसरा, there's a second question in there which I don't remember, लेकिन let's take the first one। ये वाला फर्स्ट वाला सवाल ले लेते हैं। तो um, the bottom line is it takes skill to develop ease. It takes no skill to use force। अगर हमको फोर्स को चेंज करके ईज को डेवलप करना है तो उसको स्किल्स उसमें स्किल जरूरी है। और स्किल जो है प्रैक्टिस से ही आएगी ऑब्वियसली। और दूसरी दूसरी जगह पे दूसरी यू नो विद इन द कंफर्ट जोन, आउटसाइड द कंफर्ट जोन, 2 मिनट की प्रैक्टिस, 1 मिनट की प्रैक्टिस, यहाँ के साथ इसके साथ। तो रजत का सवाल बहुत ही जायज है, क्योंकि प्रैक्टिस जो है बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है बॉडी की टेंडेंसी को थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल करना, कि हम फोर्स ना लगाएं, हम थोड़ा ईज लगाएं। तो माय recommendation basically is this notion of closed-ended practice। और रजत is also is basically talking about closed-ended practice, क्योंकि जब हम छोटी छोटी स्पर्ट्स में प्रैक्टिस करना शुरू करेंगे, जैसे कि हम डिटर्मिन कर लेंगे कि 2 बार पुल आउट यूज करना है इस कॉन्वर्सेशन में, जैसे कि मैंने अभी डिसाइड किया कि मैं दो सेंटेंसेस में जो बोलने वाला हूँ इसमें मैं थोड़ी सी वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग करूंगा, क्योंकि इस वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग मुझको अपॉर्चुनिटी देगी कि अब मैं थोड़ा सा पुल पुल आउट प्रैक्टिस कर सकूं कैंसलेशन करके, जैसे कि मैंने अभी किया। तो ये अपॉर्चुनिटीज जो हैं हमारे पास सारे दिन में है, जिसके जिसके वी टॉक कॉन्स्टेंटली, वी टॉक टू दिस पर्सन, दैट पर्सन, वी टॉक कॉन्स्टेंटली। तो रजत का सवाल मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, क्योंकि ही इज हिटिंग टू द नब ऑफ द इशू, द एक्चुअल पॉइंट ऑफ द इशू, कि इन ऑर्डर टू कीप दिस स्किल डेवलपमेंट एक्टिव, अपने अपनी स्किल जो है उसको बढ़ाने के लिए या मेंटेन करने के लिए आपको लगातार जो है डिटर्मिन करना होगा कि हम किस सिचुएशन में आज किसके साथ प्रैक्टिस करें, इवन ऑन डेज दैट यू आर फीलिंग फ्लुएंट। इनफैक्ट जब फ्लुएंसी ज्यादा है तो प्रैक्टिस और ज्यादा होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि 2 रीजन है इसके लिए। एक तो ये है कि जब हम स्पॉन्टेनियस फ्लुएंसी महसूस कर रहे हैं, एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं, तो हमको ज्यादा लगेगा कि हम अपने स्टैमरिंग को छुपाएं, क्योंकि आज मैं फ्लुएंट महसूस कर रहा हूं तो बॉडी की टेंडेंसी की होगी कि मैं इसको छुपाऊं। तो उस टेंडेंसी को ओवरराइड करने के लिए, दैट इज वन रीजन। to stammer, to do some voluntary stammering on days that you're feeling fluent. That's number one. दूसरा रीजन इसका ये है कि जिस दिन मैं अपनी स्पॉन्टेनियस फ्लुएंसी को ज्यादा महसूस कर रहा हूँ, ज्यादा एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा हूँ, तो उन दिनों में मुझ में स्पीच पे ज्यादा कंट्रोल है। और जब मैं स्पीच पे ज्यादा कंट्रोल नेचुरली महसूस कर रहा हूं, तो मैं एक्सपेरिमेंट भी उसके साथ ज्यादा कर सकता हूं, कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ कर सकता हूं। तो बेसिकली those are the 2 points. And I like to think about any speech motor work, anything to do with our speech, to work our speech differently, as being sort of the parallel being like playing an instrument, learning a sport. अगर आपने वायलिन सीखा है, पियानो सीखा है, तो ठीक है, आपने 6 महीने में एक महीने के बाद अच्छे से सीख लिया। लेकिन आप अगर बजाएंगे नहीं, बजाएंगे नहीं, अगर मैंने अभी एक कैंसलेशन नहीं किया, अभी जैसे बजाने पे मैंने कैंसलेशन की, अगर आप बजाएंगे नहीं, अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट को बजाएंगे नहीं, अपने जो स्पोर्ट खेली है उसको खेलेंगे नहीं, तो स्किल जो है आपकी कम हो जाएगी। तो स्किल को शार्प रखने के लिए, कॉन्फिडेंस को शार्प रखने के लिए कि मैं कर सकता हूं, पुल आउट भी कर सकता हूं, इसके साथ बात करने में जा रहा हूं, उसके बाद इम्प्लिसिटली बॉडी को कॉन्फिडेंस होगा कि मैं कर सकता हूं, क्योंकि मैंने इसको पिछले सिचुएशन में भी किया है, कल भी किया था, आज भी किया है। इसीलिए सेल्फ मॉडलिंग भी बहुत ही यूजफुल हो सकती है, क्योंकि हम अपनी बॉडी को डेटा दे रहे हैं कि मैंने ये किया था, मेरा रिकॉर्ड है यहाँ पे, कि मैं ऐसा लगता हूं जब मैं पुल आउट करता हूं, ऐसा लगता हूं जब मैं कैंसलेशन करता हूं, आई कैन रिपीट दिस नेक्स्ट टाइम। सो यू गिविंग योरसेल्फ सम एविडेंस दैट यू कैन एक्चुअली डू द स्किल। आई जस्ट वांटेड टू बेसिकली से कि ज्यादा ज्यादा काम इसमें जरूरी करने के लिए नहीं है, बट आई थिंक माइंडफुल रहना, रेडार पे रहना इसके ऊपर, कीपिंग इट ऑन द रेडार, मेकिंग इट इंटेंशनल, पर्पसफुल प्रैक्टिस ऑन अ डेली बेसिस। और व्हेन यू थिंक अबाउट इट, इज वेरी इजी टू डू। किसी के साथ आप बात कर रहे हैं, पर्टिकुलरली आपके कंफर्ट जोन में हैं, उनको बता दीजिए मैं थोड़े से पुल आउट करने वाला हूं, और आपको थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट लगेगा कि मैं अपनी स्पीच को ऐसे मूव कर रहा हूं, लेकिन ये मेरे लिए जरूरी है करना, तो मैं तुम्हें ज्यादा नहीं, 2-3 बार मैं अपने पुल आउट ऐसे करके दिखाऊंगा, बस। You're on mute, Arjun.
Yeah. I've got one question for Rajat. I just want to understand where his question is coming from. रजत, क्या आपका सवाल इस बारे में है कि जब हम बार बार एसएचजी में प्रैक्टिस करते हैं हर हफ्ते, तो हमारे अंदर एक डिपेंडेंस पैदा हो जाती है कि इस संडे को मैंने नहीं किया तो मैं अच्छा नहीं बोल पाऊंगा? क्या आपका मतलब कहीं ये तो नहीं है कि बार बार रोज करने से हमारे अंदर एक डिपेंडेंस पैदा हो रही है कि अगर मैं प्रैक्टिस ना करूं तो मैं बोल ही नहीं सकता? क्या ये आपके सवाल था क्या?
हाँ, हाँ सर, आपने जो बोला वो है सर, कि जैसे अपन हर 7 दिन में करते हैं, तो फिर वो लगता है कि वो प्रैक्टिस एक बार करनी है, और यदि वो प्रैक्टिस हमने नहीं की, तो फिर माइंड ये
हाँ।
बोलता है कि आज तुमने ये प्रैक्टिस नहीं की, अब तुम जहाँ पे भी बोलोगे वहां पे तुम हकला जाओगे। तो एक तरह से इस पर पूरी तरह डिपेंड हो गए हैं।
हाँ. So
तो
Dr. Amit address this fear. He has got this fear that regular practice Sunday after Sunday in SHG or whichever way, is it possible that it could create a kind of a dependence or?
It depends upon what you mean by that word. Yeah, I mean, it's going to create a level of dependence that you'd want, you'd want to do it. But wanting to do it is a good thing. I don't see it as a problem. Certain types of dependence is a good thing. अब मैं exercise भी करता हूँ, 5 दिन करता हूँ, I am dependent on the exercise. एक 4-5
ब्रशिंग।
दिन जो है मैं जिम जाता हूँ, आई एम डिपेंडेंट ऑन दैट, माई बॉडी इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन दैट। अगर मैं नहीं गया एक दिन या 2-3 दिन नहीं गया तो मुझे लगता है मुझको जाना है। अब आप उसको डिपेंडेंस बुला लो, जो बुला लो, लेकिन अच्छी बात है मेरे लिए। जिम जाना, एक्सरसाइज करना 5 दिन या 4 दिन जो है अच्छी बात है। इट्स गुड दैट माई बॉडी इज क्रेविंग इट। Body should crave doing a pull out. It means that you're feeling successful at it. It means that you're feeling confident with it. And it means that you're developing a skill. You're getting on a different side of the stammering experience. हमको इतना टाइम लगा, इतने सालों लगे हैं, बिना प्रैक्टिस करके हम हकलाते हैं। हकलाने की प्रैक्टिस की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन नहीं, हकलाने को चेंज करने की प्रैक्टिस की बहुत जरूरत है, क्योंकि हमको बॉडी का जो कंडीशन रिस्पांस जो बन गया है उसको चेंज करने के लिए निरंतर जो है प्रैक्टिस करने की बहुत जरूरत है। नाउ व्हाट डज निरंतर मीन? इट मीन्स नॉट ऑल द टाइम, बट इट मीन्स फ्रीक्वेंटली, इट मीन्स डेली, इट मीन्स डेली टच पॉइंट्स। ये टच पॉइंट्स जो हैं हमको जागरूक रखेंगे, हमको अवेयर रखेंगे। uh, it's going to help develop our skills. So I would say to you, speaking is something we do all the time. Use a pull out, use a cancellation, use anything, use a voluntary stammering and use a pull out, use a voluntary stammer, stammer, and do a cancellation. You can do it anytime. So
अन्य
that
शब्द
would be my recommendation. Yeah.
हाँ, अन्य शब्दों में ये फियर जो है, ये इट्स ए हेल्दी फियर, इट्स ए गुड फियर कि मेरे को अपनी प्रैक्टिस को मिस नहीं करना है। ठीक है रजत, आप समझ रहे हैं ना? ये डिपेंडेंस भी अगर है तो इट्स ए गुड काइंड ऑफ डिपेंडेंस, इट्स ए हेल्दी कंसर्न कि मुझे अपनी प्रैक्टिस करनी है। बट एट द सेम टाइम, जैसे कि डॉक्टर अमित ने बोला कि यू हैव टू बी मोर माइंडफुल अबाउट योर प्रैक्टिस। constant practice, it does not mean that you are doing every day 24 hours a day, नहीं, you can be mindful and skillful about your practice। जैसे अगर मैं किसी दिन जिम नहीं जा पाता हूँ तो मैं उस दिन लॉन्ग वॉक पे चला जाता हूँ। अगर किसी दिन मैं वॉक भी नहीं कर पाया, जिम भी नहीं कर पाया, तो उस दिन मैं थोड़ा घर में ही फ्री हैंड एक्सरसाइज कर लेता हूँ। तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मुझे रोज जिम जाना ही है और अगर किसी दिन मैं जिम नहीं गया तो मैं बीमार पड़ जाऊंगा, नहीं। बल्कि मैं इसको वाइजली समझ सकता हूँ कि आज मैं जिम नहीं जा रहा हूँ, कोई बात नहीं, आज मैं लॉन्ग वॉक के लिए चला जाऊंगा। आज मैं दोनों नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ तो मैं चलो घर में थोड़ा सा फ्री हैंड एक्सरसाइज कर लेता हूँ या स्ट्रेचिंग कर लेता हूँ। तो इस रूप में आप इसको लो। आप ये मत सोचो कि मुझे रोज हर संडे एसएचजी जाना ही है। कभी आप नहीं गए, कोई बात नहीं, उस दिन आप 2 लोगों के साथ पुल आउट कर लो, मार्केट में कर लो या फोन पे कर लो। सो हैव ए लिटिल फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, लिटिल क्रिएटिविटी, लिटिल स्किलफुलनेस टू योर प्रैक्टिस विदाउट हैविंग टू मच ऑफ दिस फियर। लेकिन थोड़ा फियर तो अच्छा है। जैसे मोदी जी कहते हैं, ये डर अच्छा है।
हम्म,
सॉरी
जी
सॉरी।
रजत। हाँ।
हाँ हाँ, यही मैं पूछना चाहता था कि काफी बार मेरे माइंड में ये फियर था कि सपोज करो जब तक एसएचजी है, हम हमारे साथ प्रैक्टिस वाले लोग हैं, तब हम उनके साथ कर रहे हैं। बट ये अभी कोई सिचुएशन ऐसी आ जाए जिसमें हम अकेले हैं, तो उस मोमेंटम पर इसको कैसे आगे लेके जाए? क्योंकि जैसा कि आपको मैंने सुना है, तो इसकी लॉन्ग टर्म है, इसका कोई ऐसा नहीं है कि ये 1 साल में या 2 साल में या आप क्योर हो ही जाओगे। आप जितना ज्यादा इसको प्रैक्टिस में स्किल को एनहेंस करोगे उतना आपके लिए बेहतर है। तो जब हम अकेले हैं तो उसके लिए कैसे वो
हाँ,
करें?
अच्छा सवाल है। तो क्या होगा कि अकेले में देखो, प्रैक्टिस हमारे पास लिमिटलेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, राइट? लेकिन जब हम किसी कम्युनिकेशन पार्टनर के साथ बात कर रहे हैं तो लिमिटेड, तो स्लाइटली मोर लिमिटेड अपॉर्चुनिटीज है। अपने आप बात करना, दरवाजा बन के मैं जितना भी प्रैक्टिस करना चाहूँ, रीडिंग में प्रैक्टिस करना चाहूँ, अपने आप बोल के प्रैक्टिस करना चाहूँ, मैं कभी भी कर सकता हूँ। उसमें इट्स नॉट अ बैड आइडिया कि अगर आपको 2 मिनट 3 मिनट डेली अपने आप सोलो प्रैक्टिस भी करनी है तो दैट्स फाइन। लिमिटेशन उसमें यही है बस कि स्टैमरिंग डजंट शो अप when we are talking to ourselves. जब हम बात करते हैं अपने आप से तो हकलाते नहीं है, नॉर्मली नहीं हकलाते हैं, और वो बहुत कम हकलाते हैं. नॉर्मली जब हकलाहट होती है तो किसी के सामने होती है. इसलिए इसके इसके दो माने हैं. एक माने तो ये है कि अगर हम सोलो प्रैक्टिस बहुत कर लें तो हमको एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करना चाहिए कि जो हमारा स्किल डेवलपमेंट सोलो प्रैक्टिस में वो सोशल प्रैक्टिस में भी होगा, क्योंकि हमारी बॉडी सोशली इज गोइंग टू बी डिफरेंट देन द वे अ बॉडी इज फीलिंग सोलो, राइट? तो शरीर के लिहाज से सोमैटिकली वी आर इन अ वेरी डिफरेंट प्लेस सोशली देन वी आर when we are working solo. तो don't expect कि जो हमारी जो स्किल डेवलपमेंट है सोलो में है वो सोशल प्रैक्टिस में ट्रांसलेट होगी. इसीलिए प्रैक्टिस जो है, but what will happen is if you're doing it solo, then sensation wise, mindfully, you're still getting the same advantage, right? Because you are practicing a pull out, you're practicing voluntary stammering. So you'll be able to keep these techniques fresh in your body, right? Your body will still know a little bit what to do. Agar solo practice bhi nahi ki, then over time, obviously, you're going to lose the skill. लेकिन अगर सोलो प्रैक्टिस की, then at least you're getting the body familiarized to what these techniques actually feel like. लेकिन सोलो प्रैक्टिस is not a substitute for social practice, क्योंकि the body is in a very different place socially than it is in a solo way. So adequately, it's a very different experience. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing that अगर सोलो प्रैक्टिस भी कर रहे हैं रजत, तो अगर आप वो वैसे करें जैसे कि आपने प्रैक्टिस में यहाँ पे की थी, जब डॉक्टर साहब ने बोला था कि टेंशन अभी कितने पे है, 5 पे है, 7 पे ले जाओ, 7 पे है, 1 पे ले आओ. अगर उसको भी आप रिप्रोड्यूस कर सकें अकेले में भी, तो दैट विल डेफिनेटली बी हेल्पफुल कंपेयर टू नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग एट ऑल.
Yeah.
तो सोलो प्रैक्टिस का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप अकेले में रीडिंग कर रहे हैं, या लाउड रीडिंग कर रहे हैं, या स्लो रीडिंग कर रहे हैं. ये बहुत से लोग करते हैं हकलाने वाले, कि मैं 2 घंटे लाउड रीडिंग करता हूँ, मैं 1 घंटे स्लो रीडिंग करता हूँ. उससे कहीं ज़्यादा फायदा आपको इससे होगा जो जो डॉक्टर साहब ने करवाया आपसे, कि आप वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग में गए एंड आपने अपने चेतना को अंदर मोड़ा और देखा कि मेरे गले में कितना टेंशन है. उस टेंशन को आपने क्वांटिफाई किया, बोला कि हाँ अभी मेरा टेंशन 2 पे है. फिर उन्होंने बोला कि अब इसको 5 पे ले जाओ, तो आपने कॉन्शियसली 5 पे ले गए, फिर नीचे ले आए. वो चीजें भी बुरी नहीं है, वो चीजें भी बहुत हेल्पफुल होंगी.
वो चीजें बहुत हेल्पफुल है, एक्चुअली बहुत ही
हाँ.
हेल्पफुल है, क्योंकि एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन जो है इज गोइंग टू कीप द सेंसेशन ऑफ व्हेन आई एम इन अ 6, व्हेन आई एम इन अ 7, व्हेन आई एम इन अ 1, ये सब कुछ जो है सेंसेशन से ही डेवलप होगा. आई ऑल्सो वांट टू से कि 2 घंटे का सोलो प्रैक्टिस, रीडिंग अलाउड प्रैक्टिस जो है, ये सब कुछ जो लोग आते हैं, इन अ वे इट्स काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव. एंड हियर्स व्हाई it's counterproductive, because it gives you this sense of confidence कि मैं बोल सकता हूँ टेंशन के बगैर और हकलाने के बगैर, मैं बोल सकता हूँ. it gives you that confidence and it gives you the expectation कि अगर मैं सोलो में इतना अच्छा बोल सकता हूँ तो मैं बाहर भी बोल सकूंगा. So, and then when we are not able to do it, then we feel bad कि मैंने 2 घंटे प्रैक्टिस की, मैं even then I cannot. The critical thing to understand is solo practice is not a substitute for social practice, because stammering does not show up solo. The body is in a very different state socially than it is in a solo way. So you've got to do it where stammering happens more regularly, which is in any social encounter. Solo is still good to a certain extent. It'll keep this fresh in your mind. It'll keep you engaged with it, but it is not a substitute for doing it socially. Dr. Sajjan says it very well. Take your stammering social. अगर आप रीडिंग प्रैक्टिस भी अगर कर रहे हैं तो पार्क में कीजिए, रीड अलाउड
चौराहे
कीजिए,
पे.
पार्क में कीजिए विद इन
Yes.
ईयर शॉट ऑफ समबडी, ताकि आप लोगों को कोई सुन सके, हमें कोई सुन सके. वो प्रैक्टिस जो है, दैट विल गो मच फर्दर than reading aloud in your own room. Do you have a question, Sagar?
So, sir, we can do the solo practice on calls also, right?
I wasn't here. Your question wasn't clear at the end. Can you ask again?
Okay. I was saying, sir, we can also do the solo practice on calls also, right?
On
On calls.
you mean yeah, of course.
On phone.
So then it won't be solo, right? It will be social. There will be a person on the other side. As long as you're talking to somebody, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, it's social practice. It's not solo. Solo is when you're just talking to yourself and nobody's listening. Yeah. I mean, phone is just one more environment in which we experience more tension, less tension, or whatever. So again, to Sagar's point, whether it's, call somebody, talk to somebody face to face, all of those things. Do you have a question, Doctor? Do you have a question, Dr. Arjun? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Sir, I just wanted to add something to Rajat's first question about
Mhm.
dependency. Was just that I think if we are too caught up with results, if we are too focused on what we want to achieve through what we are doing, then I think there will be a certain level of dependency and fear. So if I am going to the SAG and if I'm doing all the practices because I want to become fluent, that adds pressure, and that's where the dependency comes, that if I don't do it, then I will remain
Good point.
stammerer for the rest of my life. So that is where the foundation of acceptance comes into play. And that's where if we do the practices because we enjoy doing it, rather than because I want to achieve fluency through that. I think if we can just focus on the process, the dependency will not be there.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And also the fact that these practices, these practice जो हम बता रहे हैं, it's not limited to only speech motor work. It's not limited to pullouts and cancellations. Self-disclosure is also a practice. Voluntary stammering is also a practice. Becoming aware of what we avoid and going into the same situation that we avoid. I mean, that's a kind of a cancellation, right? I've tried this on people कि मैंने कल दो चीजें avoid की. मैं दो चीजें definitely avoid करता हूँ. So one way to interpret cancellation is go back into the same situation and don't avoid the word. That's a different kind of a cancellation. It's not a motor cancellation, but you engaged in avoidance behavior. You were reinforced for it because the stammering that was going to show up did not show up. Now you want to counter that reinforcement by reinforcing the fact that I'm actually going to allow myself to stammer. So do a cancellation. Go back into the same situation. अगर एक शब्द में हमको avoid किया, एक word हमने different word use किया क्योंकि हम उस नए शब्द के ऊपर नहीं हकलाएंगे. Go back into this situation, use the word, use the original word that you wanted to use. That's also a cancellation. So all of these things can be helpful. Is that helpful, guys? Just to sort of go over, because I just wanted to go over the point of this, that the point is not that we're not going to stammer. No, in fact, we are going to stammer. Point is we're going to stammer differently. We're going to stammer with a little bit more ease, a little bit less, less tension. लेकिन ईज को डेवलप करने के लिए प्रैक्टिस की जरूरत होगी, क्योंकि फोर्स को डेवलप करने के लिए ऑडी को कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं चाहिए. It comes innately, but ease does not come innately to us. We have to develop it. So should we practice a little bit, or should we do the rest of the thing with some practice? Maybe do a little bit of that. Okay, ठीक है. So Let me start with Yatharth. Tell me something that you did over the weekend, Yatharth, and I'm going to put you on a 2-minute timer and think a little bit about 2 or 3 words that you're going to be using. Plan ahead. Think about 2 or 3 words that you're going to be using. And what are you going to be doing with those words? Are you going to be doing a pull-out? Are you doing a cancellation? Will you do it? Will you do a voluntary stammer? Think a little bit about it. And then don't tell me the words. Just talk to me about whatever it is you want to talk about. But whenever those words show up, be prepared to demonstrate a pull-out or a cancellation, whatever you want. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically my weekend was very uh, chill this weekend. I really didn't 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 do anything. I just slept a lot. My sleep 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 schedule was is really is थोड़ा खराब हुआ है तो मैं थोड़ा लेट उठता हूँ तो फिर इसीलिए रात को भी लेट सोता हूँ मैं तो I watched a lot of m- movies this couple of weekend this couple of days. I watched a lot of web series, not a lot, but yeah, web series and movies. And like I am seeing that this YouTube uh, 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 algorithm is getting stronger and stronger day by day. So,
Yeah.
so really have to think about it before using it. And so, other than that, other than that, I went to a family friend's house yesterday, and I talk, talked in front of them. I like some points views I kept. I initiated the conversation with people there. अपने से मैंने किया ट्राई तो वो मुझे अच्छा लगा काफी तो
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
that- that-
How are the pullouts working for you? You're using a lot of them. You're using some cancellations and some pullouts. How is that working out for you? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Uh, in difficult situation, what really helps me is my breathing pattern. This week I have sort of focused on my breathing pattern, and I have found that my breathing pattern is a little not matlab, this is a standardized thing, so it's just not me, I think. So, but yeah, when I take a deep breath before speaking, that really helps me. Uh, so this is something I noticed. And talking about cancellation and pullouts, uh, I still, I still in difficult situations. I think that people are not that patient. They try to finish words and all. So this has really थोड़ा सा पीछे हो गया हूँ with my practice because of this. So I want to know how it can be tackled, and yeah.
Okay. Good. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Let's go to somebody else. Let's go to Vikas. Do you want to practice some pullouts and cancellations with me?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So
So the thing is that just to remind you, Vikas, pre-select some words that you're going to write them down if you need to. हिंदी इंग्लिश या जो भी है लिख लो और then you know, then you're more likely to be mindful of it क्योंकि लिखा हुआ है. And then before, I would even say before you start getting up to those words, try to do some voluntary stammering just like that, because that will prime your body to know that stammering is okay, and then you can actually maintain very good communication skills, maintaining eye contact with the camera, with the smile on your face. You'll be able to do all those kinds of things. So when those words will naturally show up, you're more likely to do a pull out on them in a different kind of a way. So pre-decide the words, and whenever you're ready, you can get going.
Okay. I will start now.
Okay.
So this week, we went to Goa for co 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 company company off site where nearly 50 employees employees
Good
of
cancellation. Well, let's top right there on that word employee. I'm going to interrupt you. I want you to do a cancellation on that one again, but really think about it. So
Okay.
the word was employee. Think about where you felt the tension and try to reduce it very consciously. Take your time. First of all, take your time. After you say the word in a cancellation, one way to develop the skill of resisting time pressure is to add more time to the pause. और यहाँ पे ये चीज बहुत आसान है. हम सब हकलाते हैं, हम सब यही प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं. तो टेक एज लॉन्ग एज यू वांट, टॉक थ्रू कि कहाँ 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 अटका मैं, कहाँ टेंशन थी, किस लेवल पे थी. टॉक योरसेल्फ इनटू द रिफ्लेक्शन first and then reattempt the word. So go ahead and do the word employee again.
Employees.
Okay, good. Now talk to me about what happened there.
I think there was bit of pressure here in stomach, and lips were like kind of going like this,
Yeah, jammed up.
and yeah,
Mm.
and like I was kind of like trying to say this word with voluntary stammering, but when I was using voluntary stammering without using any technique like bouncing or prolongation, then my natural stammer is mixing up with that, and then this was showing up like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and then the pressure was there in neck, stomach, and lips were going like
Okay.
this.
Good. Nice awareness. Very nice awareness. So, क्या होता है? I just wanted to dwell one more second on this particular point. I think the voluntary stammering point you're saying is very, very true. Voluntary stammering भी एक skill है. The reason oftentimes a voluntary stammering turns into this spontaneous stammering, a natural stammer, is because the body is used to the natural stammer.
Yeah.
तो जो भी रूटीन है, जो भी हमारी न्यूरोलॉजिकल रूटीन है, उस वर्ड को बोलने के लिए, उस मोमेंट के लिए, the body will reach for the easiest routine that it knows, which is to say the word with a stammer. इसलिए वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग भी है, एक स्किल है, हमको सीखनी है। तो डिसाइड करना, रजत का विकास का पॉइंट बहुत ही वैलिड है कि अगर मैंने डिसाइड नहीं किया कि मैं किस तरह की वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग करूंगा, तब द बॉडी इज गोइंग टू टेक ओवर that stammering moment in a natural kind of a way. लेकिन अगर मैंने डिसाइड किया कि मैं हर दो शब्दों के बाद जो है थोड़ी सी बाउंसिंग, थोड़ी सी लाइट वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग करना शुरू करूंगा, then I'm getting away from that conditioned reflex which I have, which my body has developed. So being intentional about the type of voluntary stammer you want to do can also be very helpful. Sorry, I'm taking too much time away from what you are saying, but please continue. I want to see you do more pull-outs and more cancellations.
Okay. So and nearly 50 employees employees of ours ours from Delhi and Hyderabad
Good pull-out.
were they there,
Very good. Also a good
and
pull-out.
and we spent 3 days the days there.
Good. Excellent. Lots of pull-outs, lots of cancellations. Spontaneous stammering थी या voluntary stammering थी या combination था?
I think it was like this. I was going into stammer voluntarily without thinking of using any technique, and then my natural stammer was mixing up with that.
So what I also observed, by the way, I don't know if you noticed it at all, even in your natural stammer, where there was a fair amount of tension and a fair amount of blocking, you were maintaining eye contact. So agar hum talking about a daily practice routine, practice is not just for pullouts and cancellation. Practice can also be मैं आज self disclosure करूँगा, 2 जगह पे मैं self disclosure करूँगा, 2 जगह मैं voluntary stammering करूँगा, 2 जगह अगर मैं असली भी stammering कर रहा हूँ कोई natural stammer में, तो I'll maintain eye contact. Right? So practice is multifaceted. It doesn't just have to be pull out and cancellation. It can be whatever target behavior it is. Target behavior can be a self-disclosure. Target behavior can be voluntary stammering. Point is deciding, again, going back to Rajat's point, frequently deciding कि daily basis पे decide करना कि मैंने आज क्या करना है, कल क्या करना है, day after क्या करना है, किस situation में करना है. ये सब कुछ जो है, this is changing our lifestyle. And so there's a distinction between finding a solution to a problem that's technical in nature and something that is an adaptive solution. ये जो हम बता रहे हैं, this is more of a lifestyle challenge. This is not a technical challenge. You're changing your lifestyle on a daily basis. It's like going to the gym. It's like doing this on a regular basis, keeping it in the forefront. Thank you, Vikas. Let's go to Rahul. राहुल, आप थोड़ा सा प्रैक्टिस करना चाहते हैं मेरे साथ?
सर गुड मॉर्निंग सर, गुड इवनिंग सर.
गुड इवनिंग। तो कुछ बताइए अपने बारे में, दो तीन, लेट्स टॉक फॉर 2 or 3 minutes। डिसाइड कीजिए, जैसे मैंने सबको बोला कि चाहे पुल आउट करना चाहते हैं, चाहे कैंसलेशन करना चाहते हैं, डिसाइड कीजिए कि किस शब्द के ऊपर करेंगे। और डिसाइड कीजिए कि बिफोर यू गेट टू दैट वर्ड, स्टार्ट टू डू सम वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग एज वेल। लेट्स ट्राई दैट। और व्हेनेवर यू आर रेडी, ट्राई कीजिए।
सर मैं एक्चुअली मैं रेडी हूँ, और
ठीक
मैं
है।
इसको सॉरी के साथ शुरू करूंगा। और
हम्म।
क्योंकि मैं कहीं ना कहीं सर, मैं जब मुझे ये लग रहा था कि सचिन सर जो है, सचिन सर जो है वो अपना टाइम दे रहे, आप इसमें इतना टाइम दे रहे। मैं जिस तरीके से वीडियो बनानी च- चाहिए, तो हालांकि मैं कैंसलेशन भी कर रहा था, मैं बीच बीच में। मेरा एक दोस्त है, वो काफी टाइम के बाद मिलने आया था, तो वो जा रहा था वो बाहर। तो अभी वो मेरे ख्याल 4-5 साल में आया। मैंने कहा चलो चाहते हुए इसके साथ कैंसलेशन तो ट्राई कर ही दूं। तो वो बहुत देर मेरा मुंह देखता रहता था कि स्टैमरिंग तो करता था, पर अब क्या हो गया इसको। मैंने फिर भी उसके आगे मैंने कैंसलेशन की, तो उसने पूछा भी नहीं। उसने पूछा भी नहीं, मैंने बताया भी नहीं उसको कि ये टीसा और ये मैं आजकल इसके बारे में क्या कर रहा हूँ। पर पर वो बाकी सर मैं वो जो टेंशन वाला जो जो होता है, वो कि उसको एक साथ नंबर पे लेकर के जाना, फिर उसको 3 नंबर, तो ये का, काफी मतलब काफी इसने मतलब हेल्प किया है। अभी जब मैं अभी जब लॉन्च में बात कर रहा था, उस वक्त ज्यादा स्टैमरिंग हो रही थी। अभी जब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, तो अब स्टैमरिंग कम हो रही है। और और मैं बाकी सर बताने लायक बताने लायक कुछ नहीं है। और मैं सर वो भी नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ कि कहाँ पर मुझे मतलब स्टैमरिंग करनी है। पर्टिकुलर जो वर्ड जो है उसके ऊपर मुझे मतलब वो सब नहीं कर पा रहा सर।
लाइफ लॉन्ग काम है ये तो। अब आप डिसाइड कीजिए इस हफ्ते की 2-3 बार मैं पुल आउट ट्रिक करूंगा इस पर्सन के साथ, एंड कीप गोइंग विद इट, बिकॉज दिस इज ऑल यू नो अभी नहीं कर सकते तो कोई बात नहीं, जस्ट बिल्ड इट इनटू योर रूटीन, धीरे धीरे, धीरे धीरे लेकिन लगातार। that is the that is the that is the trick to closed ended practice. Short spurts but very frequent, as frequent as you can. So try that this week. Thank you, Rahul. Let's go to Rajat.
या हेलो सर।
तो कुछ अपनी जिंदगी के बारे, अपनी 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 जिंदगी के बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए। क्या हो रहा है आपकी जिंदगी में? अलाउड कीजिए कैंसलेशन। ये एक सेकेंड, इसको एक मैं एक आई एम गोइंग टू डू दिस। मैं दो इस बोर्ड के ऊपर दो कॉलम बनाऊंगा। एक कॉलम में एक कॉलम में मैं लिख रहा हूँ पुल आउट, एक कॉलम में मैं लिख रहा हूँ कैंसलेशन। तो जब भी आप पुल आउट करेंगे तो आपको मैं एक चेक मार्क दूंगा, जब आप कैंसलेशन करेंगे तो मैं आपको एक चेक मार्क दूंगा। और देखते हैं आप कितने चेक मार्क जो हैं ले सकते हैं 2 मिनट में। और मैं भी देखूंगा कि मैं कि वे कैंसलेशन था या पुल आउट था। इट मे बी समथिंग इन बिटवीन, दैट्स ओके, बट लेट्स ट्रैक द बिहेवियर।
ओके सर, तो ये स्टार्ट करें सर। सर
जब भी
एक्चुअली
आप हम्म
सर जिंदगी में काफी उथल पुथल चल रही है।
हम्म
माइंडफुलनेस अवेयरनेस की वैल्यू समझ समझ में आ रही है।
हम्म
ऐसा लगता है कि हर चीज ये जिंदगी के हर मोमेंट हमको छू रही है। माइंडसेट कभी भी उल्टा सीधा हो सकता है, बट यदि हम अवेयर हैं हर चीज के प्रति, तो हम उसमें से बाहर निकल सकते हैं, हर विपरीत परिस्थिति से निकल सकते हैं, यदि हम अवेयर हैं। अवेयर अवेयर लाइफ या मेरी लाइफ में काफी अहम भूमिका है, और जिसमें शीर्षा का काफी योगदान है, है। और आज वो रेसरपल सिचुएशन में भी इस पुल आउट एंड कैंसिलेशन के कारण काफी पेशेंस डेवलप हुआ, काफी चीजों को हजम किया। पहले घबराता था, बट अभी बिल्कुल डट कर सामना करता हूँ। जब नहीं होता है तो मैं सीनियर मेंबर या हायर अथॉरिटी के पास जाता हूँ हेल्प के लिए, तो इससे मेरी कैपेसिटी भी इंक्रीज हुई है। सो ये एक एक इम्पोर्टेंट इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है लाइफ में। जो भी हो, बट जब तक जान है तब तक लड़ना है, और चाहे जो भी हो, पर ठीक है, मतलब सभी को स्वीकार करना है।
Okay, look at that. क्या बात है, हर एक शब्द के ऊपर, एवरी सेकंड वर्ड, एवरी थर्ड वर्ड, काउंट भी नहीं कर सकता मैं। 10-20 पुल आउट की, 2-3 कैंसलेशन की, 2 मिनट में। दैट्स एग्जैक्टली राइट। या तो हम लोगों की प्रैक्टिस समान नहीं होगी, एवरीबडी इज गोइंग टू डू इट एट देयर ओन लेवल, दैट्स परफेक्टली फाइन, नोबडी इज कंपीटिंग विद एनीबडी, दैट इज नॉट द पॉइंट। द पॉइंट इज कि जब स्किल डेवलपमेंट इस लेवल पे हो जाएगा कि हम रूटीनली, जब हम बात कर रहे हैं उसमें बीच में हम थोड़ी सी वॉलंटरी स्टैमरिंग और पुल आउट ऐसे करने लगेंगे, तब जो है, तब तब जो कॉन्फिडेंस और तब जो कंफर्ट लेवल आएगा हमारी स्पीच में, तब हमारी जो लेवल ऑफ एक्सेप्टेंस है, that's the point. These techniques are not just about forward moving speech, they also develop acceptance. क्योंकि रजत जैसे अभी बोल रहा था, काफी काफी जगह में वो रुका, ये all this is हकलाहट, but this is forward moving. This is forward moving. This is less tense. This is less pressure. This is creating less interference in communication. It's all of those kinds of things. So it's helping. Excellent. Thank you, Rajat. Let's go to Sanjay. You're on mute, Sanjay.
हाँ सर, मैं सर इस वीकेंड अपने एक पुराने दोस्त से मिला था जिसकी कुछ दिनों पहले लव मैरिज हुई थी। मैं किसी कारणवश मैं ज ज ज ज ज जा नहीं पाया था। अ, तो मैं उसके घर गया और उससे मिला, और उसकी वह वाइफ से भी मिला। और मुझे उसकी वाइफ से क क क क क क कम्युनिकेशन करने में एक तरह का प्रेशर फील हुआ जो बाकी मेंबर्स के साथ नहीं हुआ। तो मुझे ये भी रियलाइज हुआ कि जब हम अपोजिट सेक्स के साथ कम्युनिकेट करते हैं तो अलग तरह का एक प्रेशर फील करते हैं। शायद वो स्टैमरिंग को छुपाने का हो, या फ्लुएंसी का प्रेशर हो जो काफी लेटेंट होता है। और काफी चीजों पे उसके साथ बात हुई। क क क क क क क कॉलेज की बातें और दोस्तों की बातें। और फिर मैं उसको बाहर लेके गया, और अ, मैंने मोमोज खाए। और उसके पीछे का कारण ये था कि मुझे इस 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 तीन मोमोज बोलने में दिक्कत होती है। मैं पहले जब जाता था तो बोलता था भैया फ्राइड मोमोज मत देना, या कभी पूछ लिया तो बोल दिया कि बॉइल्ड वाले देना।
ओके गुड। तो इस बार क्या किया आपने? फिर भी वो और कोई शब्द यूज किया अवॉइड करने के लिए, या स्टीम मोमो का बोला?
सर नहीं, मैंने वहाँ प्रोलोगेशन टेक्निक का यूज किया था। मैं इस टीम करके बोल दिया था।
ओके, गुड। तो अवॉइड नहीं किया वर्ड।
नहीं नहीं।
That's a that's a big win. That's a big win. तो कैंसिलेशन तो होगी उसके ऊपर। मेरे ऑरिकली a different kind of cancellation would be कि अगर आपने कोई वर्ड सब्स्टिट्यूट किया तो फिर मोमो खरीदने जाइए,
हाँ
और जो
लेकिन
असली शब्द यूज करना चाहते थे वो यूज कीजिए।
लेकिन सर जब मैं बोल रहा था तो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था कि इसे मैं सटीम बोलूं या इस टीम बोलूं, क्योंकि मुझे स्प्रिंग बोलने में दिक्कत होती थी जब मैं जॉब करता था, तो मैं स्प्रिंग बोलता था वहां में।
ओके। तो उसके लिए डील करने के लिए यू could also do some voluntary stammering with this person before you get up to the word like steam.
Word simply refused to come out, and then I use some force to get the word out. Similarly, the word TISA also never came out, and I tried my best. And one more word I tried to use was TCS. I am going for a marathon conducted by TCS next week. So I had to use the word a bit more, which was slightly arduous. And yes,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Look at your check marks. Every second, third word. That's awesome. That's great. So, since you're going to do, is this a presentation you're going to do, a formal one, next week?
Sir, I'm running marathons for conducted by
Marathon.
TCS. But the past couple of weeks, the word two was, it just refused to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Sir, when I'm in the block, I try to use pull out, but I think the voice was just not coming. Like I could feel myself trying to press and trying to force the word out.
Yeah.
And when that happened a couple of times, next time there was sort of avoidance, which was okay, let me
Yeah.
use some other, but with numbers, there is nothing else that I can use. That was a bit challenging.
No, I get it. I get it. So this is not going to work every time, right? Let's not be under any illusion. This is not a certainty, but it's a high probability. Let's start working with हिंदी में क्या probability को हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? संभावना, right? Okay. तो हाँ, तो certainty नहीं है लेकिन संभावना है. Relying on the probability versus relying on the certainty. That's the other big mind shift. Okay. Okay, thank you. Excellent. So let's end with you, Sagar. Do you want to go last? Tell us something about your life, and I'll use something, try to change your stammer in some way, and I'll try to clock it, whether it's a voluntary stammer or a pullout or a cancellation.
Sir, I hope that my voice is audible to you.
Completely.
Okay, yeah. So, sir, this week, my week was spent totally very good. The thing which I have noticed this week was I have stuttered on much more words like starting from letter A. I have one of the friends named as uh, Abhishek. He was at the distance from me. I had tried to call him, but I had stuttered a lot with him while calling his name, and I had mainly focused on the prolongation technique, and it worked for me very well. And overall, my last week was very good. I have used pull out and cancellation in the bus while speaking with the bus conductor. I tried to use it as much as more as possible, and I am still working on this the technique day by day to improve it.
Okay. Excellent. Good eye contact. Lots of volunteer. Were you doing a lot of voluntary stammering as you were talking to me?
It was voluntary. It was not an involuntary.
Okay. Yeah. I could notice. I wasn't sure whether something was a pull-out or a voluntary stammer, but it looked more in the voluntary stammer column. So excellent. Whatever you can do. That's great.
Can you please show off that board?
I mean, I lost track of the check marks because you were talking so fast. I lost track of it, but I think mostly that it was clustered over here. Most of the check marks that you got were in the voluntary stammering column and some in the pull-out column. I didn't see much in the cancellation. I saw mainly in the voluntary stammering and the pull-out column. Is that accurate?
I think I did twice or thrice cancellation. I think.
Okay. Yeah. It's easy to miss. It's just very easy to miss. We can track what we can track. Of course, if I had recorded you, like if I play this recording back, I can go back and the tallies are going to be more accurate, but obviously it's harder to do in real time. Okay. So guys, hopefully this was helpful. There was a prompt that that Dr. Sachin had planned for today, but we changed the prompt to delve a little bit more into the speech motor work and come up with some guidelines around it. I think the guidelines are very useful, can be very helpful because I think you can, recognize limits of solo practice, recognize the importance of solo practice, but also limits of solo practice and the importance of closed-ended practice. Small spurts of behavior on a regular basis. And it doesn't have to be only speech motor. It could be self-disclosure, announcing to somebody that we stammer, doing some light voluntary stammering across multiple environments in a day. Whatever it is that keeps it up here regularly can be quite helpful. Questions about anything, guys? Any questions, any comments? Yeah, what are you going to say, Dr. Srivastava? You're on mute.
I just want to add one thing, that we don't want anybody to feel, ashamed about anything. Oh my God, I have not made any video. Oh my God, I have not done any closed-ended practice. Because we know that in our life, there's already enough of negative emotions, shame or guilt or those things. We don't want to add anything like that to your life. So if you are not able to make any videos, don't feel bad about it. Simply say, I could not.
Yeah.
If you're not been able to do any practice, simply say, I could not. Whenever I can, I will do it. And in the same way, if at some point, if you can't cope with TOPG, and if you think that you will come again, it's totally fine. Don't feel bad about it. I've already told a couple of people like Rusha that don't feel bad, chill out. Because there's enough of, pressure and emotions in our lives. And Dr. Amit and I myself, we don't want to add to that. So whatever you can do with a big smile on your face, that is all we want you to do. Thank you so much. Back to Dr.
It's
Amit.
also,
Any
it's
questions,
also,
anything?
no, it's
Yeah.
also lifelong work, right? So this is not a, there isn't an end point necessarily. It's more of a journey than anything else. So you can resume the journey. You can get off the bus, on the bus, off the bus, on the bus as often as you want to, and keep going on it. The point is, the longer you stay on the bus, the more you engage with the ride. Just like following that same, taking that analogy to the next level, the more you're on the bus, the more you enjoy the ride. That's all. Yeah.
As a child, we used to go from Kalka to Shimla in that toy train. And I remember we used to get off the train, then we used to climb up again because it was moving slow. So think of TOPG like that.
Yeah.
If you can't cope it this time, maybe in the next batch you will have enough time to do it. So whatever you do, do it with a sense of joy and do it with a sense of positivity that
Yeah.
I am doing something wonderful for myself. I don't have this kind of feeling that, oh my God, I got a chance to join TOPG. What shame upon me. I've made just 2 videos. Don't do that, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you next week. Yeah, a question from Sagar.
So Sachin sir, in today's Telegram, you had post like we will be discussing about motor ter, technique. So what was that?
This is what we have been doing last 1 hour. Whenever you move a muscle in your mouth to ease a word out, that is a motor technique. Motor simply means muscle. So when you move a muscle in your throat, in your tongue, in your mouth, you're using a motor technique. Motor simply means that. So bouncing, prolongation, cancellation, pull out, all these are motor techniques. And this is what Dr. Amit calls speech motor work. Muscle involved with the speech production. When you manipulate them, you're doing a speech motor work. That's it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
thank
I
you for
think
asking. Thank you for asking that question, Sagar. It's a technical term. I'm not surprised that you don't know what it is. A lot of people don't know. I should have actually clarified when I'm using that word. It's basically a technical term that comes from speech therapy. That when you're doing speech motor work, you're working on the mechanical movements, right? You can also say working above the iceberg versus below the iceberg. Yeah, Yatharth?
I just wanted to ask that how to deal with people who finish your sentences, like because if you correct them, then like because the sentence has been completed, the talk has been completed, and you also sort of want okay, let's move ahead. So if I may answer my own question, for the best thing is to go back to the situation and co- correct them uh, but how do you do it politely? So this is something I want to know, how to deal with that. Yeah.
So, Yatharth, there isn't one response to this question. There are several. One response is that if you are used to doing self-disclosure, if you can lead with self-disclosure, then as part of the self-disclosure, you can also tell your listener what you would like from them. So very often in a self-disclosure statement, if it's a formal sort of a situation, or if I'm meeting somebody for the first time and I know I'm going to have a fairly lengthy conversation with somebody about something, I will very often do some voluntary stammering, and I'll say, I just want you to know before we start that I'm a person who stammers. So you may see some repetitions and some prolongations in my speech. What will help us is if you give me a little bit more time and avoid for finishing my sentences and keep a little bit of eye contact with me, I can move through my stammers with some ease. So as the full self-disclosure statement, if you're able to do with somebody like that, and especially do it at the beginning of the conversation, because then you don't have to tell them what they are doing is something is incorrect. You're actually setting the expectations early on as part of the conversation exchange itself. I think that can be very helpful, because then you are also using the moment as a moment of advocacy. By asking for what you want in a conversation, we're also advocating for ourselves. So self-disclosure, advocacy is very much part of it. And advocacy is all about asking for what you want from the listener, preparing them and asking them for what you want from the listener. The other way to do it, the second way to sort of do it, if you've missed the bus at the beginning, is that do self-disclosure when the first stammering moment shows up. That would be the other way to time the self-disclosure. So very often I may not start with a self-disclosure, but the moment I get into a block, as you see, I'm a person who stammers. I can, I might get into these blocks occasionally. What will help us if you just keep some eye contact and don't finish my words from me, it'll just make it easier for us. Simple.
Okay.
So it's very powerful. Self-disclosure is very, very powerful. One of the sessions I'm hoping we can have at some point is, and everybody does the disclosure differently. Our comfort level is very unique. So self-disclosure statement लिखिए. Write a self-disclosure statement for yourself कि मैंने अगर literally 4 sentences में अगर self-disclose करना है तो मैं कैसे कर सकता हूँ. 10 sentences में अगर मुझे self-disclosure करना है तो what will that look like? If I want to self-disclose when I'm ordering a coffee in 1 sentence, what do I say? So using a script, coming up with a polished script that you can adapt, that you can tweak across different environments is very much part of this process, because then you can throw in things like, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit more eye contact. And I like to usually use these terms in a very specific way. Like I'd like you to give me some additional time and keep eye contact. So here's what you keep and here's what you give me, right? Because then it allows us to sort of also talk about the fact that it's collaborative space. So very oftentimes I will not say what will help me. I say what will help us. That itself puts the communicative responsibility in a shared space, versus I don't own how this communication exchange is going to go on, and neither do you. We are co-creating it. So, Vikas, question or comment?
Okay, it's comment, and
Mhm.
just want to ask first, like, if you are getting late, then please don't hold back.
Many, it's the last comment I'll take. So go ahead.
Okay, so firstly, I want to say that today's session was full of wisdom, and where the one thing that I will take back, that solo reading practice is counterproductive. And maybe we can make a short YouTube video on that reel wala video, and that may go viral as well in stammering communities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to go out on a limb and say, solo work is productive. It's not a general statement like that I want to make. I want to just put it in the context,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The reason it can be counterproductive is it can really elevate your confidence without really recognizing what it takes to do it in a social environment.
yeah,
That's sort of the problem with it. It raises
yeah,
your expectations and your confidence level, but the body behaves differently across different situations, which is why it can be counterproductive because it can be frustrating. I've done all this work and it's not working for me. Well, you haven't done the work where it needs to be done, which is in a social sort of a context, because that's where it shows up. So I don't want to
yeah.
say it's counterproductive. No blanket statements. But
Yeah,
I see your point and why you
yeah,
find that important.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all, it's almost like the man who was looking for the key under the lamp, under the lamp.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Because light is there.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it is. So, like, I found it good. Like, mainly the second thing that you have just said, that per purpose should be not to stammer or become fluent, but it should be stammer with ease or stammer with mindfulness. And that's why, like, when we mostly do reading with solo, and like you have shared the reason during the meeting as well, then we can set up wrong expectations कि यहाँ fluent बोला तो वहाँ भी fluent ही बोलूंगा.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one wisdom that I will take back. And second point that I wanted to share on Yatharth's uh thing that he was a- asking, that we as a person who stammer, sometimes we are being told, or that's in our mind, if somebody is completing our speech, then that's bad, and we may start to feel bad. Then I was just thinking in a different way. Then, if somebody is completing our speech, they are quite interested in, on what we are speaking as well. And maybe we can enjoy that moment with them. And when they uh, complete our words, then we can say to them, I went into block. This was good that you guessed, but you guessed it wrongly. I wanted to speak that. And maybe to make it more fun as well. And then maybe we may not feel bad, अरे मेरा word इसने पूरा किया, ये तो बुरा व्यक्ति है.
Or wo bhi hoga. I mean, you're not going to prevent everybody from finishing your words. That's not going to happen every time. But if you take some charge of this in sometimes, you're going to feel better about it, even in those situations when you don't have enough charge, right? That's the point. If you've been able to self-disclose and ask for what you want, you put something in the bank. That's why when you are taking something out of the bank because somebody's completing your sentences for you, so it won't feel as bad because you've already put something in the bank. So that's the other way of looking at it. All right, guys, it's 1.5 hours. I need to go, but it's lovely chatting with you all as usual. And I'll see you again on next week on Monday. See you guys. Bye.
I just want to say one thing, Vikas, and to everyone.